Jailed Royal Marine Sergeant Sgt Blackman will find out the result of his appeal this Wednesday. 5 judges will announce whether the jailed Royal Marines murder conviction is being quashed or upheld. The panel at the Royal Courts of Justice in London will sit at 10:30 am to deliver their long-awaited ruling. It is just over a month since Sgt Blackman's two-day appeal heard he was suffering from a combat stress disorder when he shot a wounded Taliban fighter in Afghanistan in 2011. The court heard from 3 psychiatrists who agreed he had a recognized mental illness when he pulled the trigger. His disorder substantially impaired his ability to form a rational judgment or exercise self-control, and this would have affected his ability to know whether the insurgent was alive or not, the experts said. The prosecution did not contest the psychiatric evidence but argued it was not enough to absolve him of responsibility. Richard Whittam QC, for the Crown, said there was no evidence to the contrary about Blackman having an adjustment disorder, but the issue was, did it cause what happened? He said, "One has to assess the breadth of the disorder and the effect it was having." 5 of Britain's most senior judges, led by the Lord Chief Justice Lord Thomas, will now give their ruling. Sgt Blackman was convicted in November 2013 by a court-martial in Bulford, Wiltshire, and sentenced to life with a minimum term of 10 years, later reduced to 8. The 5 judges heard it at the time of the 2011 incident. Sgt Blackman was serving with Plymouth-based 42 Commando in Helmand province in ghastly conditions which were a breeding ground for mental health problems. Sgt Blackman's case was referred to the appeal court by the Criminal Cases Review Commission (CCRC), the independent body that investigates possible miscarriages of justice. If he wins and the conviction is reduced to manslaughter, the issue of what sentence should be imposed will be dealt with at a further hearing. Blackman's QC Jonathan Goldberg said at a hearing in February that the key stressors were his perception of poor leadership above him, isolation, the family history of depression, an earlier near-fatal grenade attack, and the death of a colleague he had mentored. His disorder substantially impaired his ability to form a rational judgment or exercise self-control, and this would have affected his ability to know whether the insurgent was alive or not. Richard Whittam QC, for the Crown, said there was no evidence to the contrary about Blackman having an adjustment disorder, but the issue was, did it cause what happened? One has to assess the breadth of the disorder and the effect it was having, he said. Blackman was convicted in November 2013 by a court-martial in Bulford, Wiltshire, and sentenced to life with a minimum term of 10 years. In May 2014, the court-martial appeal court rejected a conviction challenge, but reduced the minimum term to 8 years because of the combat stress disorder he was suffering from. During his trial, Blackman, who denied murder and was known at that stage as Marine Day, said he believed the victim was already dead and he was taking out his anger on a corpse.